Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second round of the 2023 Shelly Sharpe Memorial presented by Spinners on the Green. We're here for the back half of our second round, and Andrew Marweded right there, he is your leader. He started the day with a 5-stroke lead. Now it's 4. Noah Meintsma, Tanner Cumpton, and along with Cale Leiviska are all on the card. We'll keep an eye on the chase card as well as we head over to hole number 10 at 651 feet. Really a lefty or a forehander's dream hole. We have that ridge line on the right side. Also OB on the far left side where the sidewalk and or water come into play. And then deep of the basket, of course, you have the road. Also usually a pretty loud road at that. So distractions can come into play, but Cale Leiviska is going to pipe this one right up the middle. And no shame in that. Solid shot there by Andrew Marweded. Speaking of distractions, I think a passerby. Man, when your boombox is bumping, you're living life. And he's been no stranger to rollers out here. Nice shot by Meintsma. Well, low release. I think back to our very first hole where we saw a low release coming out of Marweded. And really during round one, he was getting it done with both his putter and his driver. Everything was connecting. He had 11 birdies in the opening round to just 1 bogey. And that one's going to drift off to the left side for Cale. It's going to give him an open look for birdie. A forward roll for Noah is not going to hurt. Little backspin, but still quite makeable there for Marweded. Tanner's got a long look for birdie. Sensing a pattern here, both Tanner and Cale short with their effort. They have a little bit of a backstop, too. We certainly don't want to come up short on that attempt. Here's Marweded. This is for par. Noah's going to have the lone birdie of the card. Just like that, they're going to start making their way back toward Tournament Central as they take a long walk over to the tee of 11. Start heading back. Would be a good time for some double G jerky, right? I mean, 600 and some feet on the previous hole. 700 and some feet on this hole. Also, you guys do need to hear Double G and the crew are working on finishing up the production of a U.S. Distance Championship. That video, I think, is going to be on the Disc Golf Network. The likes of Albert Tom, David Wiggins, possibly Double G, Ella Hansen. I'm not sure who's all for sure involved, but I know they are working on a project and looking forward to seeing what that's all about. Perfect drive for Cale. And Marwede hangs this out wide to the right and doesn't have enough time to get back. So Marwede is going to be out of bounds. I feel like I just jinxed him. I was talking about 11 birdies in round number 1 and 1 bogey. This was the bogey. However, it had nothing to do with right side OB. Instead, he had thrown it into a tree on his second shot, and it stayed up in the tree over 2 meters, 6 feet 6 inches. And so he assessed a penalty stroke for that. Now he's getting an OB on this right side. Take a look at a few of the stats that come in on hole 11. That it played .17 over par. Kind of in the middle of the overall difficulty spectrum here on hole 11. And Marwede making it look pretty easy there. We have that short putt for bogey. This is Cale for birdie. I think he was about as surprised as the rest of the world. Not often do you see Cale miss from that distance. Meanwhile, Tanner will pick up the birdie. And he's going to pick up some strokes on the card here. Going to get 1 on both Noah and Cale and 2 on our leader in Andrew Marwede. So now Andrew Marwede has exclusively bogeyed hole 11 in round 1 and now here in round 2. So it clearly has his number. And the number ain't par or birdie, if we're doing the math. Big shout out to our friends over at Grip EQ. Look for some special collaborations and also some giveaways and ways for us to work in Grip EQ in the future. Hole 12 pushed back about 50 feet to 427 feet. Wide open. Going to give it a big pull here for the lefty. And not big enough. He comes up about 3 feet short. And that means he's going to go to the drop zone. You can opt to move up and play where you were last in bounds. I can't imagine a world where that would make any sense for our competitors here. This hole comes in at 427 as opposed to playing from the drop zone at 287. And we saw this play yesterday by Cale. It paid off. He was able to put it right next to the pin on the second shot, so he walked away at the par, making the joke that that's the Masters golf play. And Marwede is safely up on the plateau, but not in putting range. So Tanner moves to the drop zone. Oh, I didn't trademark that for my podcast yet, did I? I don't think I can, but That's a good segue I'll just make up here. Tell me if you guys are enjoying the Drop Zone or what topics you might want to hear on the Drop Zone. This tournament's already given me a couple of new great ideas, I think, for issues and topics to discuss. But I am certainly open to hearing more. If you've got a good question or a topic you'd like me to elaborate on, that is the entire point of the Drop Zone found on my channel. As no Meintsma drops one in. As of now, the podcast format is basically me having a topic, trying to stay on topic, and then talking about it for anywhere from 20 to 40 minutes. I want to keep them a little bit shorter, so it's not a long-winded Smashbox episode. And these are not featuring any guests at the moment, and I don't really plan to, otherwise there's no way we'll stay within that short allotted time frame. But if there is a topic you'd like me to discuss, you could put that in the comments, and I'll break it down and do what I can to answer you on an upcoming episode of the Drop Zone, which you can find on my YouTube channel. Eventually, I'm going to get it on a regular podcasting app as well. But then you can't see me. And I feel like that might disappoint no one. Yeah, these guys are playing golf. Par. Marwede. Nailed it. You should go out and get yourself some Distinguished Doodle pet supplies, shampoo, conditioners, all organic. Make sure you check them out, thedistinguisheddoodle.com, as we head over to 13. Very difficult hole to get to. We don't see too many birdies here on 13. In fact, I believe there were just a couple of them during round number 1. And we've seen so many different, not only ways to attack this basket, but then also results as Cale hits that and starts rolling toward the water, but it stays in bounds. We've seen that tree right there when it was fully grown. Much more difficult to get yourself around. We've seen sky hyzers. We've seen where skip shots were the only way to get to the pin. A little bit of everything. And then also in the last few years, they've added the Mando on the left side. And that's really just trying to keep people from blasting something up there that may hyzer out and then go all the way over toward the sidewalk, or in any way bringing the sidewalk into play. And that's going to hurt the chances of someone who throws exclusively lefty backhands like we just saw from Tanner. Nice smooth layup for Cale. Kind of what you would expect when you're out in this range. This is just going to force you to lay up. And in such an impressive fashion, I'm going to tell you, Aaron Gossage, who got this in round number 1, he was only one of 2 competitors to get it in round number 1. Well, him and Andrew Mahala both got it. In round 2, he got it and Andrew got it. So they both got this hole. So bonus all around. And then 4 others joined them in round 2. But, man, talk about a bonus birdie on the entire field. Aaron and Andrew doing some work. If you'd like to ship your disc safely and securely using a box, a recyclable cardboard box, and it supports my efforts, make sure you check out my Disc in a Box shipping supplies. We usually send them to you in 100-count cartons, and they can easily and safely, securely ship 1, 2, or 3 discs, depending on which disc you're shipping. So make sure you check those out. I also offer reclosable poly bags as well. So when you really want to keep them protected, bag it, box it, send it. My Disc in a Box. what you need. Another interesting tree mac. If you were here for round one, which if you need to pause it, go back to round one, watch all of that. You'll see there were some pretty crazy tree kicks that Cale got throughout the round. I think there were 3 of them specifically, 2 out of the 3 being in his favor, but with so few trees out here, it's been kind of crazy to see how they've been reacting to Cale's discs. We see the wind picking up a little bit here in the late afternoon. The only thing prettier than that shot by Cale is Cale's face. Ah, this is the mandatory tree they added. I'm thinking, why is he not just taking the hyzer to go after that pin? And halfway through the flight, I realized this is the tree that they added as another mandatory here on this hole. They did shorten this basket by about 40 or 50 feet. I want to say it's 40 feet. So not quite the depth we normally see. It's kind of keeping you away from the elevated basket over there on the left side of the screen. So they actually lengthened hole 5, but then shortened this one on 14. So that starts to make a little bit more sense in my small brain. My brain cannot compute just how consistent we see Andrew Marweded on the putting green. Tanner will pick up the birdie, and Noah's been just a few putts away from putting together a scorching round here. Still sitting 5 under through 14. Cale is 6 under through 14. And our leader, Andrew, 4 under. Spinners on the Green, of course, our presenting sponsor of this weekend's event. Them along with the help of a number of manufacturers. Make sure you check them out. Stop by for a visit. Located just a few feet off of the course and right next to Duke's Sports Bar and Grill. I don't really know how you could make it any better. Cale asking for that to flip up. Huge roll. Oh, but the problem is it's gone deep of the Mando sign on the left side. So Cale's going to actually go to a drop zone from there. Major distance. That's going to curl up to the high right side. Really the most common collection area for rollers. Not likely he's going to take Tanner out of birdie contention unless he has a miraculous second shot. I'm not really sure that he can get to the pin, but now we're seeing Noah's roller slowly drifting to the right, but that's got great distance. Tanner looking to prove me wrong. Let's see what he's left with. Here's Marwede. And I can't overstate this enough, that it feels like a relatively wide open shot, but as you're going downhill and you're trying to run, and we're seeing it by Noah, it's not quite as pronounced, but just like throwing uphill always feels a little bit weird. You often will pull your shot because of your hips and your foot placement and all the things that you're thinking about. Same thing, even going downhill, it certainly can really screw up your timing. So for what seems like should be easy shots. They're anything but that. So Cale from the drop zone is throwing 3. Oh, and that hits the tree and then goes out of bounds on the sidewalk on the left side. Trouble for Leiviska. Cale a little bit in hurry up, frustrated mode. Understandably, this hole is not doing him any favors. And Marwede was ready to walk it in. He thought he converted. So the double bogey for Leiviska. Take a bite out of his scorecard. I had the thought during the front 9, and I'm going to have to follow through still. If Cale headed up a band, what would the name of the band be? I feel like it's such a unique name to begin with, but what would the band be, or group, whatever you want to call it? Maybe it incorporates his name, maybe it doesn't, but what would the band name be for Cale Leiviska that he's in? Let's just assume he's like lead singer. Maybe he plays other instruments, whatever. He's for sure lead singer. I mean, he has to be the front man. So what is the name of that band? And I cannot wait. Normally I pull a comment at random. This one might just have to flat out be the single best submission that's given. Makes me laugh just thinking about how good these are going to be. And you may have to relinquish the rights to said name to Cale, of course, if he follows through on this fictionary band I just made up. Here's Marwede. And if you think that after editing and filming, doing all these things throughout, 14, 16, 18, 20-hour days, just so I can sit down and entertain myself with stupid comments off the cuff, if you think that's what I'm doing, you're exactly right. So that's where we're at. Low, but inbounds. So he's at just outside circle's edge. We're going to call that 12 meters. Don't call me uncultured. Uncultured. I say it all. Meintsma, more metal. I kind of feel like Meintsma is a metal. Is there such a thing? Somebody get out the periodic table. Because I kind of feel like it sounds like a metal. I'm going to feel bad when there's some really sweet or sensitive meaning behind his last name, but I don't know. Easy birdie. You're going to head over to 17, and if you're waiting for an ace, well, that's a good spot to be, folks. Just 243 feet downhill. Many, many years ago, we're talking a decade ago, there used to be a single tree, a really big tree that was right next to this basket. It came into play on almost every single shot. Fortunately, that tree is no longer with us. They've since then elevated this pin for most competitions. It does give us a beautiful backdrop nonetheless when throwing this hole, and just like round 1, no problems for Marwede. Looks like it should set up well for Tanner, and off the backboard. Inbounds. Noah splits the difference. And that's too flat. Leiviska moves to the drop zone with penalty. All right. Not the recommended way to go about the 3, but Cale saves the par. So par save by Gibson from the drop zone. Yes, spoiler. And up on this right side, hiding behind the tree. Looks like we've got Tanner for his birdie luck. I feel like you could stand over that putt all day and be nervous as you're looking at nothing but air behind the basket. And that one's online for Noah. So pretty impressive. Actually, similar to what we saw during one of our feature cards yesterday. We had 3 birdies and then a par save from the drop zone. I think that's exactly what we just saw there. 3 birdies plus the par save. Did I tell you guys to like, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube things? Maybe become a Patreon supporter. That's really how this coverage happens and how we can get extra cameras, extra coverage, more people. Looking forward to an incredible springtime here. And also with my new website, shop.thediscgolfguy.com. I'm going to be able to offer up some exclusive Patreon codes. So if you support me on Patreon, you'll also be getting a discount on my website. If you didn't see it, a fisherman threw a line into the water right as he was about to throw. Definitely not the line that Marwede wanted. We'll see if he takes a different one. And oh, that checks up. Marwede on the green of 18. I want to send a big thanks as well to Pete Ulibarri. He had done all the drone previews, and he is now working with his brother and the Uli Institute to bring you guys lessons, so please make sure you check that out. You want to go out and play better golf. Pete and the Uli Institute, great ways to go about it. And I'm not just a babbling spokesman. I'm a user myself. I signed up. I joined the Institute. I want to be able to beat Pete or Paul someday. So Cale will be looking at a bogey after the OB. And Marwede finishes strong, just as we saw in round 1. Closes out with a couple of birdies. He's 7 under for the round. That's 17 overall. And Andrew Marwede looking in full control out here. We'll see how Chase, Card, and others do. And, of course, we're going to have lead card action for you. We'll also be able to put together, once we get caught up, some FPO action, a little bit more bonus coverage that we weren't initially planning on. But that Patreon support's going to help out, and they're going to start to close out here, guys. It's been an incredible 2 days here at the Shelly Sharpe. Thanks to our friends over at Spinners, along with Spicy Boy and Tyler, and my hosts and good friends over at First Light. Couldn't do it without all of you. We'll see you on Championship Sunday for the 2023 Shelly Sharpe Memorial.